celebrations and the program that's taking place in Soweto with our SABC journalist Chriselda Lewis. Once again, over to you, Chriselda.
Well, thank you very much to Elvis in our Johannesburg studio. If you're also joining us from the more than 50 countries on the African continent, you're joining a live broadcast here from the Hector Pieterson Memorial on the launch of Youth Month. Of course, here in South Africa, looking back to 1976, where thousands of students had marched against Afrikaans being used as a medium of instruction. Now, what you're seeing on your screen at the moment is wreaths that have been laid by some of the government dignitaries who are here, including the Minister in the Presidency, Jeff Radebe, as well as the Minister responsible for monitoring and evaluation, Butimana Mela, as well as many other executives from the National Youth Development Agency. The National Youth Development Agency, of course, set up to assist many young people in trying to realize their dreams, not only to be reliant on government for opportunities, but also to create opportunities for themselves. That's what we're doing here today, celebrating those young people, but of course not forgetting or looking at our history as South Africans and the rough history that we come from as young people in this country, and how we've moved forward as young people to participate in the democracy that we now all enjoy. But certainly you would recall back in 1976, the main issue was related to education, and black children in Soweto saying that they refused to be taught in Afrikaans, that all those subjects be taught in Afrikaans. So it's quite ideal that this morning I also chat to the MEC of Education in Gauteng to find out about how education has become more accessible, in particular in this province. Of course, you would know that in 1976 that took place in this province. I'm going to chat now to the MEC of Education, Mr. Panyaza Lusufi. MEC, thank you very much for your time, certainly this morning. Certainly a great day that we come back again so many years later after 1976 to look at how far education has come for South African youth.
It's a heartwarming exercise, actually, that you come here. You know, every time I arrive at this place, you know, it raises emotions of the need for us to remain focused, and for need for us not to betray the souls that lie here. You know, so that the young ones that laid their lives can be in a position to be rewarded by the programs that we are running as government.
But how far have we come so many years later? It was a struggle against the apartheid government and what it was trying to impose on young people in this country. So how far have we come? Let's talk in particular about your department, the Gauteng Department of Education. I mean, just recently, and if not now, we're still dealing with issues where schools are not transformed. You had instances recently where you had to intervene in a school that was segregating young people, students. How much progress have we really made?
We have made progress. It's just unfortunate that there will always be potholes that need to be attended to. I mean, previously we had almost 19 government departments separated on the basis of race. Now we've got single government department across the country. Previously we had children that could not be transported to school purely because they were wrong color. Now every child that needs transport to go to school, then every child that needs food at school that are provided, and that we've got textbooks that are given to all learners, and we've got infrastructure that is made available to those that were studying at a math school. So we've made progress, but indeed there are areas that we need to move faster, especially on the issue of language. And I'm quite excited that for the very, very first time from 2016, all our children in grade 1 will now know at least one African language. That one African language will be compulsory, and that will ensure that all our schools are available to all our children. But what is key, which is challenging, is whether people have accepted that racialism is the future, that our children can play and study together in the same class, that you don't have to use language to segregate and divide our children, and ensure that if you are a Tswana, must go to a Tswana school, if you are a Xhosa, must go to a Xhosa school. Those are the battles that I feel that we want the court to accept, that those days are gone. Our children must play and study together.
But certainly the indication, MEC, is that there are certain quarters, if I may, that are not accepting that transformation needs to take place, and that non-racialism, as government put it, will not be accepted. But you're still having that in your schools. You had an instance where you personally had to intervene in a school where there was racial segregation in 2015. You're still dealing with those issues. Yes, significant progress has been made, but there are still many of these loopholes. What does government plan to do about this? Because so many years later, you're sitting with a problem that some would say is historic. It should not be there.
non-racialism is the future. You can't postpone non-racialism, it will happen. And the sooner those that are resisting, that they accept that non-racialism is the future, they will realize that there's a need for us to move as a country. And those that are resisting non-racialism, I'm saying to them, unfortunately, you are fighting a war that you are not going to win. Because what Nelson Mandela stood for, what our country is standing for, and what the future look like is that our children will play together. We can delay it, but you can't postpone it. You can sabotage it, but you can't succeed. So our approach is very simple. Non-racialism is the future, and those that don't want non-racialism, unfortunately, we're going to impose it on them, because non-racialism is not an illegal thing, it's not evil, it's not bad. So we believe that we'll impose non-racialism on those that don't want non-racialism.
What's your program moving forward, in particular, to deal with this issue? I'm sticking on it because certainly in 1976 it was an issue relating to education, the access for quality education for all of South Africa's youth. What's the program moving forward to deal with these schools that don't want to transform? Schools such as the Kuro schools that you dealt with, where certainly it was quite an eye-opener for many in this country. We certainly couldn't believe that there are still schools who are segregating learners on the basis of the color of their skin.
We're indeed breaking the barriers of racism. I can assure you now I've got 8 schools that we are tuning together or merging, a school from a township and a school from the suburbs that is going to be led by one school governing body to ensure that children can play together. We are launching our sports program to ensure our children can play sports together and cultural activities, and they can learn the language that other learners are utilizing. We are launching some of the programs that are going to be part of this June month so that our children can know that to play with another child and to understand another child does not mean that that child is superior or not superior. And we are also part of the program of ensuring that all our school governing bodies, which are the ones that are given the policy rights to implement some of the programs, that they understand non-racialism, they understand social cohesion, and they understand that the future lies in the hands of this young one. So we are working together. For example, we've just come out of the Africa Month in May, where our children were taught the importance of anti-xenophobia and the need for them to respect the African flag and the African or AU anthem. So we've got various programs that are assisting us to deal with these things. But what is very important as a country is that when we say the country's performance compared to other countries make us to be at the bottom end, it means, therefore, we need to invest resources and revitalize what we call township education or rural education. Because until we invest in township and rural education, we're not going to change the setup. So it's very important that that responsibility does not lie with government alone, that the teachers that are good, that are in other areas, can come and teach in the township. The principals that are good, that are come and lead the schools in the township, so that we can exchange and have ideas and programs that will assist us. But surely, I can assure you, non-racialism is the future. It's not going to fail.
Right, the MEC of Education in Gauteng. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Panyaza Lesufi, speaking, of course, about some of the great successes that education has made, strides in this country, and certainly some of the thorns that they are still dealing with as the Education Department, in particular here in Gauteng. Certainly what we're expecting to hear from inside as well is the Minister in the Presidency, Jeff Radebe, where you'll certainly touch on quite a lot relating to Youth Month and how young people will stand to benefit from government programs and how young people are able to make things happen for themselves. We'll certainly come back to you a bit later on that, Elvis, but for now we'll go back to you in the studio.